welcome to the channel. I'm going to be doing a video on skateboarding YouTube. I should be calling this a autopsy, not a diagnosis. The way that I see skateboarding YouTube right now is like that scene in Princess Bride where Wesley is taken to the doctor and he's diagnosed as being half dead, but then gets resurrected.
Look who knows so much, huh? Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead. There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead. Please open his mouth. Now, mostly dead is slightly alive. Now, all dead, well, with all dead, there's usually only one thing that you can do.
What's that?
Go through his clothes and look for loose change.
I think right now, skateboarding YouTube is half dead. There's still hope and there's still signs of life, but we are not in full health. In order to make my point, I want to go over what I define skateboarding YouTube as, the different categories that I think make up skateboarding YouTube, the current state that it's in, what the future may hold, and an idea for possible resurrection. Okay, disclaimer. I'm going to be analyzing success based on views, not the quality of the videos. So I know people are going to have different tastes and whatever, but I'm going to be just purely looking at the views in order to make this point as objective as possible. But with that being said, this is not a definitive statistical analysis. It's very qualitative. My thoughts are going to be very biased based off of my algorithm. So there's going to be lots of blind spots, which leads me to my purpose, which is to start a discussion. I'm not presenting this as a fact. I just feel like this is something that should be talked about right now. Okay, so what is skateboarding YouTube? Or, more importantly, what isn't skateboarding YouTube? So I've got this chart here, and these numbers are entirely made up, but I think they do a good job of painting a picture of what skateboarding YouTube is, because there is a lot of skateboarding content on YouTube. And I think it's important to separate skateboarding content that's on YouTube, such as video parts, full length, sponsor tapes, homie videos, camera roll edits. I think like just stuff made by like Thrasher, Pocket Skate Mag, that might be even content like the Followed series or This Old Ledge, stuff like that. That's going to fall under the category of skateboarding content on YouTube, not skateboarding YouTube. Your definition might include some of these things, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be separating this aspect of skateboarding YouTube out. This brings me to the 4 horsemen of skate YouTube. I have some examples, and I'm not talking about individual channels because I think these channels ebb and flow over time. But these 4 categories, I believe, are the pillars that hold up all of skateboarding YouTube. Pretty much every skateboarding YouTube channel that I've found falls into one of these categories primarily, and most of them, if not all, dabble in 2 or more of these categories. This being vlogs, reviews, how-to videos, and commentary. Now, when I was finding channels to represent each of these categories, I ran into the first problem with skateboarding YouTube, which is, as the giants of skate YouTube have fallen, like Braille or John Hill or something like Garrett Jenner, the skateboarding YouTube channels that had over 1 million subscribers and kind of were the face of skateboarding YouTube, I have not really been able to find the next generation of skateboarding YouTube that should be rising up and replacing them. Like when I was going through, I seriously couldn't find one example of a current skateboarding YouTube channel that has the success, except for one, which I'm going to talk about later. But the success of those channels has not been replicated recently. So this graph represents the success of skateboarding YouTube channels by views. And this is a generalization. This is not accurate. There's no numbers or anything. but this is generally what I believe the curve looks like in terms of views since the dawn of YouTube till now. Now, you'll see from the years 2014 to 2021, I'm going to make the case that this was the golden era for skateboarding YouTube in terms of success in views. Not necessarily the quality of videos, which we can get into later, but I think different channels peaked at different times throughout this period, but generally this period was when there was the most consistent success of skateboarding YouTube channels. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, but generally a decent-sized skateboarding YouTube channel during the golden era would have a low-performing video falling somewhere around 50,000 views, a high-performing video going semi-viral and getting over 1 million views, and the average video would get between 100 and 300,000 views, depending on the channel. Now compare this to skateboarding YouTube channels today, where a low-performing video might get a couple thousand views, a high-performing video might hit 150,000 views, and the average video probably falls in around 20 to 30,000 views. Okay, so I've demonstrated sort of just briefly, and this isn't, super scientific, but I've just kind of scrolled through the popular versus current state of these examples, and it generally seems to follow this curve of around 9 years ago till maybe 4 or 5 years ago. There was sort of this golden era, whereas currently the views have drastically gone down. And as I mentioned before, I haven't found any channels that have been able to replicate that sort of success, except for really one, maybe two. So the question is, what happened? I have 3 hypotheses. So the first hypothesis is that instead of a few bigger skateboarding channels, things have now fragmented into a lot of smaller skateboarding channels. Each channel has a niche audience that likes their specific content, and channels don't really share an audience. Hypothesis 2 is that the audience's taste has changed. The younger viewers have grown up having access to the internet their whole lives, and they won't settle for this YouTube slop. The young crave a different source of entertainment, and they have evolved. Hypothesis 3, I have a short video to demonstrate.
お父さん、スケートボードに行かせないでください。黙れ、お前の国はお前を必要としている。でも父さん、私はビーストゲームを見たい。1日8時間スケートをしなければなりません。その後、YouTube を1時間視聴できます。
As you can see, the next generation of skateboarding youth, aka those who have displayed talent and have been selected for further training by the Chinese government, are only allowed to use YouTube for 1 hour a day. This means they will not be able to consume the same amount of content as the youth 5 or 6 years ago, which might explain the decline in viewership. In order to get a better picture of the current state of skateboarding YouTube, we need to also examine the recent successes. So, 2 years ago, I made a video glazing Gifted Hater, and I'm about to do it again. Gifted Hater is one of the only skateboard YouTubers to build a successful channel post the golden era. He has not had, however, the virality of channels during the golden era, but he has had a much more consistent view count for his videos. If you want to see some of my thoughts for why I think Gifted Hater managed to do this, check out my last and only other video. Here you can see a pretty consistent view count of around 100 to 300,000 views over time. And it seems to be trending upward. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was surprised to find a channel whose view count looks much like that of a golden era channel. And that channel is, believe it or not, the Dern Brothers. This shocked me. Another thing that shocked me, which I didn't find out until I was researching for this video, is that this guy right here, the middle brother, I don't know which one he is, he's actually the Joker from the Halloween Hellbomb videos. There are a couple of reasons why I think that they have managed to do this. First, I think they hit a massive part of the skateboarding audience that essentially had zero representation in actual proper skate YouTube. And this is sort of the creature fiend, beer drinking, old school, traditional skaters. Apart from this, I pursued their channel and found out that while they do make the classic YouTube vlog slop videos, they tend to sort of try to pair it with some like challenge or hijink, which I think does help those types of videos be a little bit more entertaining. An example is building a mega ramp off the roof of our parents' house. They also have a series called Spot History. And I think that it's a very simple but well executed idea where they visit a famous skate spot, talk about all the tricks that went down on it. They note anything interesting about the spot that you might not know unless you were physically there. And they often actually skate the spots, which I think is pretty gnarly a lot of the times. In my opinion, I think this is probably their best kind of video. It's their most unique, I would say. The main reason why they've found some semi-viral successes is because of their featured guests, particularly Bam Margera, which seems to be in all of their most popular videos. But they also have some pro skaters give interviews during their Spot History series as well. Honestly, I'm pretty happy that these guys have been successful, but I do think they need to continue to innovate if they want to hold on to it, because I think in a few years they may be in the same position as those golden era channels where they may be struggling to even hit 100,000 views. Okay, I'm going to now propose a vision for the future of skateboarding YouTube and talk about some potential hangups and try to give a practical example or proposition for a video idea that might help. I think that skate YouTube needs to function similarly to the Apple ecosystem. Each channel can provide specialized content within those 4 horsemen categories that I mentioned earlier. However, just like there's an iPhone Pro and an iPhone SE and an iPhone Pro Max, there needs to be diversity within each category that I mentioned before, and each option needs to be viable. Now, when I look at the commentary example from earlier, we have Ninja Lifestyle and Gifted Hater. There are others, but just for the sake of this, in this case, it seems like we have the option of a flip phone or an iPhone 12 Pro. And it's clear based on views which option people are choosing and that they don't feel as though both options are viable. The other aspect of the ecosystem is that each channel needs to function well with different channels. So just like how AirPods work well with my iPhone, I think that different channels need to work with each other and share their audiences. This would help with the fragmentation that I think is currently happening in skateboarding YouTube. And both channels would also benefit from sharing an audience. This isn't part of the ecosystem analogy, but the YouTube vlog slop needs to be elevated. Like seriously, it's embarrassing that skate YouTubers have been making the same vlog slop for like 15 years, and there seems to be no innovation. Now, there is a problem that I foresee. Let's say content creators are doing their job and creating content. Well, a commentary channel, such as Gifted Hater, can watch that content made by other channels and take potential viewers from the original content. I call this the Agario effect. Now, just like in Agario, we could see that in this example here, Gifted Hater is eating up these smaller channels and gaining viewers, while the other channels just die and are absorbed. This isn't a perfect example. Another example I thought for the special case of dumb data is the Rain Man example, where Tom Cruise is Gifted Hater in this example, and he is exploiting dumb data's autistic superpowers in order to win a lot of money gambling. Now, I don't think that there's really a solution to this, because this problem's all over YouTube with reaction channels and Twitch streamers that simply aggregate other people's content and give commentary, and that's just the nature of the game. But to be fair to Gifted Hater, I think he sets a good example for a commentary channel and how it should function. He makes a very good effort to create his own content, such as YSL, that would be good for other commentary channels to watch and use for their own commentary if there were any other viable options. He also uses things like YSL to give smaller creators a spotlight, which directs viewers towards their channels. For example, I was directed towards Cole Hossman and XIII through the YSL 2 video. I think that by paying these reparations, Gifted Hater effectively atones for his sins. Now I want to talk about the future of skateboarding YouTube and a potential video idea just to throw out there. Now, obviously, I don't think that this is going to be a fix. There just realistically needs to be more channels with higher quality content that are innovating on the different 4 pillars of skateboarding YouTube. However, here's an example that I thought of that might blend a lot of the things that we've talked about into one example. My idea is a YOTR, or YouTuber of the Road. This is a similar spoof as YSL, YouTube Skate League, but it would be a spoof of King of the Road. This idea has potential for iconic moments that would be great for commentating YouTube channels, and each YouTuber would be able to post their own videos, which might drive up individual channel views. And by doing this kind of joint video idea, a lot of these smaller, more fragmented YouTube channels might be able to share an audience and grow the whole of skateboarding YouTube. But yeah, that's kind of all I have for the video. Again, I'm not treating this as fact. I think that there's probably a lot more to be said on this and a lot of different perspectives. So this is just kind of a conversation starter with some ideas and some things that I've noticed personally. But yeah, that's it.